Hello, I'm Pastor Chris Burish from Good Shepherd Lutheran Church here in Palos Heights. There are a lot of amazing things taking place in the Palos community, a lot of agencies and organizations doing great things. And yet we want to make sure that that is known and shared, the information is out there and made public so that you or those you care about can take advantage of it. That's the spirit behind our program, the Community Bridge. I'd like to welcome you this month to our Community Bridge program, wherein we have Jason Lane, Director of Marketing and Communications for the Crisis Center of South Suburbia. Thank you, Jason. Great to have you.
Thank you for having us, Pastor Burish.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am our Director of Marketing Communications for the Crisis Center for South Suburbia. I've been with the organization coming up on about a year now, and our goal is to kind of spread the awareness and let people know that we're a part of the community and that we're a resource should they ever need our services.
Okay, so you've been with the organization for a year now?
Yes, that's correct.
In your current position, were you ever in any previous positions with the organization?
No, I started out as the Director of Marketing Communications and been doing that for about a year. So really excited. It's a great organization to be a part of.
What enticed you to become a part of the Crisis Center?
You know, I believe that social services, especially working with those who are affected by domestic violence, it's really a cause that I can get behind and I believe in wholeheartedly. That survivors need all the resources that they can get, and if I'm able to be a part of that and help spread the word and get them the care that they deserve, that's something that really gets me going and gets me excited.
Fantastic. So share a little bit about the services that the Crisis Center of South Suburbia provides.
Sure. So I'd be happy to. So all of our services, let me start out by saying, are free. There is no charge to survivors if they come to our shelter. So one of our largest programs is the emergency shelter for those that are fleeing domestic violence situations. We also offer counseling services for the community. For those affected by domestic violence, we offer a number of advocacy services, both in the legal and medical. So we've got court advocates at 3 courthouses in the Chicagoland area, and then we have medical advocates that work with patients when they're in, I think we're in 4 hospitals right now. So, we're doing great work in the community.
Fantastic. So I know that being involved with the Crisis Center before, you think directly of shelters. So how many people or families or units can you allow in your shelters?
We've got, I think, about 53 beds at the moment, and that can house about 35 families, depending on the size. So it is something that, it's one of our largest programs, as I mentioned. The first thing that people should do if they're ever in a crisis situation is to contact our 24/7 hotline, and that's 708-429-7233. And they're going to talk to a trained expert that will take them through a series of questions and kind of evaluate their situation to find out what services would be best for them at that moment.
And what do you see domestic violence looking like? Oftentimes we have a conception of it based off of what we see or what we know of it being strictly physical. But what are some markers or things that we should consider in regards to evaluating whether something qualifies as domestic violence?
Sure. So, it's a series of events. It's not a one-time occurrence. So, and it's always with an intimate partner or family member. So that person would be living within the household, or there's some type of relationship that's going on between the survivor and the perpetrator, or the abuser, as we would say. Domestic violence, it takes a number of forms. So I think one of the major ones that when we think of would be physical domestic violence. So that's something where you might see an outward indicator, such as bruises, marks around the neck, that kind of thing. But there's also emotional and there's financial abuse that takes place that is not outwardly visible. So when somebody calls our hotline and they talk to the expert behind the phone, they're going to ask a series of questions, what type of abuse may be taking place, so that they can best evaluate the situation as it stands. But it's not just physical, there's emotional and there's financial that takes place as well.
Wow. what you shared seems to fit well with the diverse approach that the Crisis Center has taken in regards to having advocates at the courthouses as well as the hotline, as you mentioned. So what are some ways in which people have taken advantage of the hotline or the liaison at the courthouse that maybe you wouldn't think of are domestic violence situations, but really are dangerous and life-draining domestic violence situations?
Absolutely. So the legal system, even for people that work in it, it can be a complicated, complicated arena for anybody, especially the layperson. So we have people at the courthouses that work with survivors to file things like the order of protection. We have medical advocates in the hospitals that work with patients, and there may be outward signs when somebody goes in for emergency care to see the doctor. There might be outward signs of domestic violence, and our medical advocates are trained to ask questions through a trauma-informed lens to kind of get to the heart of what might be going on. It's not easy to get that information, but they do a great job of asking questions in a way that's going to do less harm that may already be going on with that person.
Yeah, I know that's been a very big area of how it is that you can ask questions of individuals who've been through trauma without also re-traumatizing them or causing them to relive those traumatic experiences.
Exactly. That everything we do at the Crisis Center is through a trauma-informed lens. Our counselors, our medical advocates, the people behind the phone, or we've even recently launched our chat and text hotline features where survivors can actually reach a trained expert on their computer, or they can text our hotline number. Again, that's 708-429-7233. And it's a little less conspicuous when they go on and they are chatting with an expert on the computer, because oftentimes the abuser may be in the same room or may be coming home, and we don't want to cause more harm. So we've offered a couple different ways for people to get in touch with us anytime. That's 365 days a year, 24/7. That hotline is there's always someone there to answer the call.
Great. So domestic violence, we oftentimes take it as being between two partners, but there's residual effects of that as well. What support does the Crisis Center offer to those who maybe are not the direct victims of domestic violence, but are still affected of it? Thinking of children in the family or other, aunts, uncles, siblings, the extended family.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we do have our counseling services, which are available for the children in the family, those close to the survivor, and we have support groups as well. So what happens is we'll have groups of survivors that meet together to offer support in a group setting. We find that really helps survivors on their path to healing, is to have others in similar situations that they can talk to about their current situation.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like there's a lot of people that are involved and invested in the work of the Crisis Center. What does the staff look like? How many different people are there, or what different areas are included in the work that the Crisis Center does?
Sure. So, everything from our operations, where we accept donations. That's one of our largest. We have such a great community of supporters in the area. We have our counselors, our medical advocates, our court advocates. We also have what's called the Partner Abuse Intervention Program, which actually works with batterers to help change their behaviors. It's something that we've seen great success where a batterer will come to us and within a series of about 26 weeks, which is the program, their outlook and their behaviors, we've seen marked changes in both of those with the batterers that come to us. So it's an interesting program and one that as I mentioned, we're very proud of, because if we can get to the root of where the abuse is coming from, why they're doing it, and we can change behaviors, then we really change the landscape across the area that we serve.
Yeah, the diversity of resources that you provide, whether it's through victims going through the legal system to get the protections they need, or the counseling of both those that have had domestic violence thrust upon them and also those that are perpetrating it. That's quite an extensive scope.
It is. It is. I think we're a little over 80 full-time employees now, and we have our emergency shelter, we have our main office. We also have a really great program of community ambassadors that are made up of our volunteers, and they go out into the community and help spread and raise awareness of our services at the Crisis Center for South Suburbia. So we have a multitude of programs. We touch a lot of areas, and we help a lot of people, to get out of the abusive situations that they're in. And we've been doing this now for a little over 45 years, which is pretty amazing.
Wow. So you mentioned these community ambassadors. What do they look like?
Sure. So we have a great team of volunteers at the Crisis Center for South Suburbia. I believe at last count we have over 200 volunteers across the organization. Many of those volunteers, they work at our 2 resale stores, Neat Repeats, which are in Worth and Orland Park. And they volunteer their time, their energy, and their compassion to help us and support the services that we provide at the Crisis Center. So if anybody's looking to get involved in the volunteer program, they can email volunteer@crisisctr.org, and you can get more information on how you can become a volunteer at the Crisis Center.
Yeah, or even just shopping at Neat Repeat. My wife loves to go to the thrift store there, and always worries me how much she's bringing home. But you have great stuff there, and organized by great volunteers to support a good cause.
We do.
So you mentioned the thrift store, and I'm glad that you did, because that's a physical location. One of the challenges with the Crisis Center is, when you look online, there's not a lot of locations that are listed. Contact usually comes through a phone call or a text message or such. Why is that? Can you explain the rationale behind why keeping physical locations not out in the public eye is a part of the work that the Crisis Center does?
Absolutely. So the reason that we are not very forthcoming in our physical location is that we want to protect the survivors at all costs. So the less information about where they may be housed or where they're coming for services allows them to get the help that they need without the fear of the batterer or their intimate partner that is causing the abuse to come to find them. Our goal is to not reharm them. So when we don't give out our physical location and we don't share that with the general public, it's always in the best for the best interest of the survivor at that point.
Yeah, that makes great sense, and I'm sure combats some of the issues around, well, what are they really doing? But it certainly fits the mission that you all have.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Do you have any stories or experiences from individuals that have received services through the Crisis Center? Is there anything that you might be able to share of the effect that it's making in the lives of real people?
Sure. We have survivors that come back to us as volunteers that help us at things like our upcoming gala, where we need all the help that we can get. Our gala is coming up in February on the 22nd, and we're looking for volunteers to come help us for that night. It's going to be a great evening of fun, philanthropy, community, and just that spirit of healing. So we have survivors that try to kind of come back to the Crisis Center and give back of their time and their energy to help us help more people.
Fantastic. Now, before going on to the gala, I'm curious, what's the footprint of the area that the Crisis Center serves?
Sure. So we're mainly in South Suburban Cook County and a little bit in other counties, but we're mostly in the south suburbs of Chicago at this point.
Okay, that's quite a large area.
It is. It's extensive.
It takes a lot to provide all the services that you're talking about. So you mentioned the gala as a big event that's coming up on February 22nd. You said that's at the Odyssey. There's a website to go to in order to get more information?
There is. It is sweetchicago.givesmart.com.
Okay.
And folks can go there and find more information about how to purchase tickets, how to get involved. We have a grand raffle. There's just many things that they can get involved with for the gala. And there's also sponsorship opportunities for local organizations and individuals as well.
Great. Well, what a nice way to support. What other ways do people support the Crisis Center or can get involved with the Crisis Center?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we're always looking for more volunteers. You can donate your new and gently used household items, clothing, decor to our Neat Repeats resale stores as well. And all of the funds that are raised through the Neat Repeats store go to support the programs and services at the Crisis Center. You can get involved as a community ambassador. So we're always looking, and we always have different ways for people to get involved and give back of their time.
Great. Well, I'm so thrilled that you were able to share about all those ways. Is there any other things upcoming besides the gala that people should be aware of from the Crisis Center?
Sure. So we have 2 golf outings per year. I know it's kind of hard to think about that right now when it's in the teens outside. But 2 golf outings to raise funds as well. So those are our other 2 fundraisers throughout the year. We also have a year-end appeal that's currently going on as well. So that's one way people can get involved is through financial contributions and donations as well. So those 2 things plus the gala, those are our major events that are coming up on our calendar this year.
Okay. These are all big fundraising efforts or appeals. So how is it that the funding for the work that the Crisis Center does is secured?
How is it secured? So we have a number of private funders. People leave money for us in their wills, which is a wonderful thing. So when they're doing estate planning, they generously put us in their will. They can also, donate their time, which is one of the biggest things because, we're always having events. October, which I know it's not anywhere near, but that's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and we have a number of events that take place that month that we're always looking for support. We do things in the community like attend farmers markets. So there's just a number of different ways that people can get involved and give of their time and their resources.
That's great. So it sounds like most of it is privately funded donations and benefits from the gala or the golf outings.
Indeed, and I would say one of our biggest ways that we're supported is through our Neat Repeats resale stores. So all the revenue that comes from those stores goes right back to the Crisis Center to support the programs that we're offering.
Yeah. Well, I bring that up because I'd imagine that the breadth of individuals in the whole of South Suburbia that have experienced or had been touched by domestic violence is quite high. Do you have any statistics or are you aware of anything as far as the reach of domestic violence in our area?
It is staggering. Unfortunately, it reaches more people and touches more people than we would know. And domestic violence, it doesn't discriminate based on socioeconomic status, race, gender. It touches everyone. It's the numbers. I believe 1 in 4 women and 1 in 3 or 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men are affected by domestic violence. And there's those statistics are always being changed, but it touches everybody. Unfortunately. About a calendar year ago, there was a horrific incident that happened very close to the Crisis Center where, unfortunately a family, their lives were taken by their abuser. And that was something that, you read about it in the news almost daily, unfortunately. But all the work that we're doing, we have a number of relationships with area police departments where we're kind of helping the officers and those involved to see the signs of domestic violence. We look at police reports and kind of identify where there may be ways that we can intervene and help. So there's just a lot going on at all times, and it affects everybody in our catchment area, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, but it's great that the Crisis Center is there, and there's a lot of different ways for people to get involved and to give back to the work that you're doing so that hopefully those issues can be addressed and make a real impact in the lives of people.
Indeed. We're, like I said, our doors are always open and our phone is always on. We're there to answer the call should the need arise. And we have all the resources to kind of work through anything that may happen if you're involved in a domestic violence situation.
That's great. Well, what a blessing it is to have such an agency in our backyard. Unfortunate that we need to have it, but yet still a blessing to have it for the realities of what we experience. So.
Indeed. And, I wish there was more resources. I wish that, Illinois had more shelters, but, we're doing the best that we can to help those that are affected and, to really start rebuilding their lives and healing. That's one of the things that our mission is really to empower the survivor to start their life free from domestic violence and have the resources available. Because a lot of times when people are fleeing domestic violence situations, they're doing it at a moment's notice with sometimes nothing but the clothes on their back. So whenever people are supporting the Crisis Center, whether that's through the NEAT repeats, donations, volunteering, you're providing resources for somebody whose life is beginning again, free from domestic violence. And it takes all the resources that we can get to help that person because, like I said, when they come to us, it's at a moment's notice and they don't have everything that they might have had that they're leaving behind. So we help with all of that stuff when they're restarting.
I think that's a great message for anybody that might be wondering, should I get involved? How can I get involved? The situation seems so much larger than what I can have an effect on. But what you've highlighted is that anyone can have an effect. Anyone can contribute. Everyone can help out in us addressing this communal issue we have.
Absolutely. And, everybody knows someone, and you'll see that, whether that's a family member, a friend, a neighbor, somebody in your congregation. There's always somebody that knows someone who is affected by domestic violence. So, we have to have those resources available to be able to help that survivor when and if that time comes.
Right. What message would you have for somebody who's in a situation and they either know that they are being victimized in a domestic abuse situation, or they're curious and wondering, wait, this relationship doesn't seem like it's supposed to. I'm wondering if I'm being abused. What advice would you give them?
My first piece of advice is that you're not alone. There are resources. We are available. Whether you think you may be or you are, please, if you have the opportunity to connect with us through our hotline or to get on a computer and chat with a trained expert, please pick up the phone, make the phone call, and our experts will walk you through it and answer any questions that you may have. And then if we have the availability at our shelter, for instance, or if we're able to help with counseling, then we're going to connect you with the right resources. But please, whether it's calling our hotline or the national hotline or just popping on our website, don't hesitate. Please connect with us, and we'll help you determine whether or not you're actually in a situation that is domestic violence related.
Great. Can you share those hotlines with us?
Sure. So I don't have the national hotline, but I do have our hotline. It's 708-429-7233. And if you Google the National Domestic Violence Hotline, you'll be able to, I believe they also have text and chat features as well. So, we have all the technology at our disposal at this point to help survivors in a more anonymous way and in a safer way to connect with us than just making that phone call. Because oftentimes the abuser, the batterer, may be in the same room. And we want to make it as easy and seamless as possible for that person to connect with us in a way that's not going to reharm them, as I mentioned.
Great. And what would be the website that somebody would go to if they wanted to utilize the chat feature rather than the phone call or a text message?
Sure. So our website, it's www.crisiscenter.org or crisisctr.org. And you can connect with us at any time. There's always somebody, whether it's the middle of the night or during the day, we have legal experts ready to answer your questions. That's probably one of the biggest areas that we see is people looking for advice on how to file that order of protection or where they can go to receive that legal advice. Because oftentimes that's one of the biggest hangups for people to seek help is they don't understand the system. So you can call us anytime and there's someone there to answer that call that can walk you through and answer those questions and just make it easier for you to get the help that you need.
And when they do that, is that strictly anonymous? Do you collect any information that you have to have on file in order to receive that type of information?
Just some very basic information, but everything is kept confidential and anonymous as much as possible. So any information that is shared with us stays with us. We don't disseminate that to anyone, and that goes for clients that are within our care. So if someone were to call and ask, is this person at your shelter, or are they receiving services, we would never share any of that information out with the public.
Wow, that's really comforting to know, especially for somebody considering such a sensitive move in their relationship. So.
Exactly, and we don't want that to hold somebody up from contacting us for reaching out for help, because it can be a situation where there is that level of embarrassment or shame that comes along with some of these things like domestic violence, and we don't want to hurt people. We don't want them to not reach out to us because they think their information is going to be shared or that anyone's going to find out. So as much as we can, we try to protect that identity and all the information that's shared with us at all times, and that's with our counselors, our advocates as well.
Well, that's great. Thanks for providing that need, that necessity into our community, and also for inviting other people to get involved. What was the website again for the gala that you've got coming up on February 22nd?
Sure. So that is sweetchicago.givesmart.com, and you'll find information on the date, the time, how to purchase tickets. All the event details are on that website, and we would love to have you join us. Like I said, it's going to be a great night, focusing on our beautiful hometown, Chicago, live entertainment, a great grand raffle that we're doing, live auctions, silent auctions. So just a wonderful night. You should come check it out. If you have February 22nd available on your calendar, you should come check it out.
Yeah, what a great way to invite the whole community to be part of addressing this issue that impacts us all. So.
Absolutely, and one of the key points of the night, one of the things that really drives the impact is our stories. So we have a survivor actually tell their story during the event. So you'll firsthand be able to hear how your support and resources are being put to work to help save the life of somebody who is affected by domestic violence. So if you don't come for anything but to hear that story from the survivor, I think you're really going to understand the mission and the purpose of the Crisis Center in that moment.
Great. And I take it, is there a website that people can go on if maybe they can't make it on the 22nd, but they're interested in contributing maybe as a community advocate or in one of the other fundraisers, or writing in the Crisis Center into their estate planning?
Yes, so if you would like to contact us just in terms of general information, you can go to info@crisisctr.org. If you're looking to become a volunteer, that's volunteer@crisisctr.org. Or if you're looking to potentially write us into your will or leave money, you can do that at development@crisisctr.org. So there's a number of ways you can connect with us. Our phone number is 708-429-7255, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on today and sharing the good work at the Crisis Center. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you, appreciate the work that you're doing to care for people in the Palos and Southwest suburb community.
Thank you, Pastor Burrish, and we truly appreciate the opportunity to come on and really talk about the great work that happens at the Crisis Center. And we appreciate all the support from you and everyone involved in your organization as well.
Well, thank you. Well, this has been our January edition of Community Bridge. As we look to the future, if you are aware of an organization or agency that's making a positive impact in the Palos community or the surrounding community, I'd invite you to give me a call and share that information. The telephone number 219-393-4997, as we might consider them for one of our upcoming Community Bridge programs. But until then, God bless and take care.